Welcome back to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba. Thanks for joining us. All right, we've got Jordan Goodman, moneyanswers.com. All right, Jordan, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here. How are you?
Great to be with you, Michael.
All right, I'm just glad to have a fellow broadcaster, somebody who's very familiar with the TV camera, the
Absolutely.
radio. I'd love to have you. All right, give us some background on yourself, and then I want to dive into what you got to say about the Trump tax bill.
So I've been a financial journalist for over 35 years. I was at Money Magazine for 20 years, NBC News for 9 years, Marketplace Radio for 6 years. I've done 13 books on different financial topics, including Fast Profits in Hard Times, The Ultimate Guide to Student Loans. I've actually written the Dictionary of Financial Terms. I'm on radio. I have my own show called the Money Answers Radio Show. My website's moneyanswers.com, and that's enough. You get the idea.
We get it, yeah. All right. What about the Trump tax bill? What can you? I mean, everybody wants to know what you've got to say. About this.
Well, I mean, I think it will stimulate the economy. I think the vast majority of the benefits of the tax bill go to higher income people and corporations. It's not an opinion. It's just numbers. They talk about a middle class tax cut. There's some middle class tax cut, but the vast majority of the money goes to higher income people because their brackets are going to go down, and they're not going to have to pay the estate tax or the alternative minimum tax. Corporations will go from 35 to 20, be able to expense expenditures right away instead of having depreciating them over time. So those are clearly the two biggest winners in this tax bill.
All right, let's get the complete breakdown because you get income tax rates starting at 35% and so on. Break that all down for everybody.
Well, I mean, the top one reduced 39.6. Now, there's a difference between the House and the Senate bill. The House passed their bill yesterday. Last night, the Senate Finance Committee passed their bill, but there's still a lot of wrangling to go on the floor of the Senate, and if it does pass there, the reconciliation with the House. But the top tax bracket, 39.6% in the House bill, would kick in at $1 million in income or more. Right now, the top 39.6 kicks in at $410,000. So you're talking about $600,000 higher income that would be taxed at 35% as opposed to 39.6 now. So that in itself is a huge tax break for wealthier people as well. The standard deduction would be doubled from currently $12,000 up to $24,000, so that would help the average family. And a lot of deductions and credits people used to would either disappear or not be applicable anymore because they would do the standard deduction. Things like home mortgage interest, charitable contributions, student loan interest, medical deductions. We're kind of used to these things, Michael, and they would all pretty much either go away, or if you were doing the standard deduction, you wouldn't be able to use them.
All right, talk to us about business investments and then child credit, things like that. And then I'm going to let Ed Baxter come in, too, because he's got a few questions on this tax issue.
Sure.
But you start there.
So the child credit goes up to $1,600, so that would help offset the cost of kids a bit. But I think kids cost more than $1,600, so it's helpful somewhat, but not that big. That's the child care credit. The personal exemption would go away completely. That's going to be overwhelmed by that increase in the standard deduction. So it's going to help the average person a little bit, but basically with the way they're selling it is that corporations will be so much more profitable that they're going to have a big wage increase for their workers. I don't think it works that way, Michael. I mean, when you're running a business and you're more profitable because you pay less in taxes, you don't immediately say, well, let me give it to all the workers in a wage increase. I just don't think the world works that way, but that's what they're selling it on.
They're trying to say, but actually they reinvested in business to grow it.
In theory. There are three things. When businesses are more profitable, there's three things they can do with it. They can invest in their business and plant and equipment and new hires and research and development. They can buy back stock, and they can raise dividends and executive compensation. Some businesses will do some will do others. Now, there was a very telling incident yesterday you might have seen. Gary Cohn, the head of the chief economic advisor to the president, was in a forum with 100 CEOs of big public companies. And he asked them, he said, if the bill goes through as such, how many of you would reinvest in the business? And of the 100, 5 hands went up. 5.
I saw that, yeah.
Well, obviously in a scenario like that.
That's telling you something.
Sorry about that, Jordan. Ed Baxter.
Hi, Ed.
How are you? The one thing that stands out about what you just said more than anything else to me is 3 letters, AMT. I've seen what the AMT has done to business owners that probably made between 250,000 to 600,000, and what it's done to them from a tax standpoint. You mentioned the changes in the 4% drop in the highest rate here for those people making between 400,000 and $1 million. Where do you
Right.
see the biggest impact on business owners? Because it seems to me people making between 250,000 and about 750,000 carry the majority of the tax load in the United States. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Yeah, the top 10% of the population pays about 70% of the taxes. That is correct. But that means when you have a tax cut, the people who are going to get the benefit are the ones who are paying the taxes. The bottom 50% of the population pays no taxes, so it's hard to give them a tax cut if they're not paying any taxes. Right? So,
That is correct.
of course, the benefit is going to go to the higher income kinds of people. Now, the alternative minimum tax was put in the late 80s because rich people were using a lot of deductions and credits and loopholes to avoid paying taxes altogether. So they've kind of created this alternative system so those people at least pay something. Now, it's burdensome, it's onerous, but these people do pay something as opposed to nothing. I think you'll get a lot of wealthy people using various deductions and credits, buying municipal bonds, for example, and end up paying no taxes whatsoever. And the estate tax is also going to be gone, too, which helps higher income people. So it's more of a matter of the optics of it, that wealthy people are going to get a big tax break, as we described, and be able to avoid taxes altogether because of having no AMT and no estate tax.
One of the big issues of this particular tax bill has to do with the subsidization of taxes in the higher tax states like New York, California,
Right.
places like that. You're getting a lot of pushback from senators and representatives from those states regarding one potential cutoff in interest at $500,000 when it comes to home mortgage interest and so on. How do you see that affecting the popularity of this bill?
It's going to be very popular in Texas and very unpopular in New York and California. Let's put it that way. And in fact, what happened? You saw the vote yesterday. 13 Republican House members voted against it, and those were all from high tax states, New York, New Jersey, California, basically, because they think the tax burden would go up. When you have high state income taxes, like in those states, it's a big deduction for people. And not only that, but property taxes. They're talking about only $10,000 in property taxes would be deductible. Well, people in those states have much, much higher property taxes than that. Now, in Texas, where you don't have a state income tax, this would be a wonderful thing, and your property taxes are much, much lower. So, I mean, some have said this is almost like political retribution. The states that are going to get hit the hardest are the ones who voted for Hillary Clinton, whether it be California, New York, New Jersey, the blue states. And the ones that voted for Trump, whether it be Florida or Texas or other states, are going to get rewarded by this thing. So I'm not sure it's exactly that way, but that's kind of the way it works out, is there's a big disparity in who the winners and losers are by states.
Going forward, would you expect the electorate to react accordingly as a result of that tax plan?
Absolutely. It's going to, not that Trump is going to get any votes from those states anyway, but he'll get even fewer now. I mean, I happen to live in New York, and I've heard people say to me, if this goes through, I'm moving to Florida. Moving to Texas.
Well, I think everybody from Florida is already from New York anyway, so it seems like
well,
the
they're getting
entire
even
state
more of
wins
it
there.
because it's a big change. I mean, state income taxes have been deductible for a long time, basically since the beginning, since 1913, and so people are used to it. Now, you could say it's a subsidy, and in a certain way it is a subsidy, because low-tax states like Texas are subsidizing high-tax states like New York and New Jersey. Now, what the New York and New Jersey say back is they get a lot less money from the federal government that they contribute. New York says that they get 79 cents on every dollar they send to Washington, whereas Texas gets more. So we would exacerbate that to some extent. But I think it's going to be in the bill. I think they're going to move ahead with that, even though there's going to be objections from these states.
Moving forward, one of the things that stands out here also is the potential for, obviously in my world, private equity world, possibility of more div recaps and money coming out of companies like that in lieu of taking that profit and actually reinvesting in the business. How do you think this will affect that particular level as far as investment is concerned?
Well, they're trying to encourage investment. One of the big things to encourage investment is to allow immediate expensing of buying equipment, plants, things like that, which would really stimulate growth and productivity. So that's a good thing, I think. The other big one we haven't talked about is repatriating of foreign profits. I mean, there's about $4 trillion overseas that's stuck there because if they brought it back, they'd pay a 35% rate. There's a 12% repatriation rate if they bring the money back within 8 years. That would bring a lot of money back, hopefully circulating in the economy. But the big question is, what are companies going to do with this money? And if that survey, if that sample, I guess you might say, what happened this week, that's going to be a political problem. If the companies just use it to buy back stock, raise dividends, raise executive compensation, The stock market will like it, and you've already seen the stock market move up dramatically in anticipation of this, but it doesn't exactly help
Jordan,
the average guy too much.
we got to end it there. Thanks for being a guest.
All right. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Jordan Goodman, MoneyAnswers.com. You've been listening to CEO Money with Michael Yorba. And with this segment, Ed Baxter. Segment brought to you by Tycon Partners. We'll be back tomorrow with more great content just for you.